What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're going to be revealing the Gondek EDC Hank of the Month Club hanks for October of 2024. Now clearly there's a lot more hanks on the table than is typical for these videos, and that's because this month's subscription of both the Standard and XL Club are a little bit different than anything we've ever seen from the Hank of the Month Club. Now, that means the video format's going to be a little bit different as well, but it all makes sense once we read this month's letter. But before we do that, if you're unfamiliar with the Hank of the Month Club, it's a monthly Hank subscription that has two different subscriptions. The standard is $10 a month plus shipping, gets you a 7" by 7" Hank with a unique design on the front that never repeats and isn't sold in their shop. Same deal for the XL, except that one's $20 a month plus shipping, and the dimensions of that Hank will be 11" by 11". Now between the two, they'll often be kind of a similar theme, but different designs. So you don't have to worry about repetition there. I happen to subscribe to both, but they're not mutually exclusive. If you prefer a smaller Hank, go with the standard. If you prefer the larger Hank, go with the XL. Now, last but not least, you can also use the design on each month's Hank to customize any of their customizable goods, as long as you're a member of the club and they still have supplies available, which usually last about the month of the subscription. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, before we reveal a single Hank, we're actually going to read the letter, which is a little bit different, but it kind of gives context of why we have so many Hanks on the table. So feel free to skip ahead if you don't care about the letter, but we're going to go ahead and read it together. So, dear Hank of the Month Club member, you guys, I'm so freaking excited. It's time for the Halloween Hank of the Month Club. Obviously, it's Lauren writing, and that's obvious not only because it's Halloween, but because as of last month, she's writing all of the letters going forward. Okay, so let's get the stats out of the way first. This is somehow already the 58th month for our Standard Club and 18th month for the XL Club. That's crazy, a year and a half already for the XL. It sure doesn't feel like it, and nearly 5 years for the Standard. Anyways, that continues to blow our minds every month, but it also keeps us working harder and harder for better prints and more perks for you guys. Now to the best part, story time. I'm a horror fanatic and have been since I was a little kid. As in, I watched the Poltergeist and The Shining at the super mature age of 8. Sorry, Mom and Dad. But really, I've been obsessed with it all, from serial killers to the supernatural for nearly 3 decades now. So I try to make a big statement and have the most fun with October possible. This month's theme, the 7 Deadly Sins, is the 7 deadly sins. According to Roman Catholic theology, they are the 7 behaviors or feelings that inspire further sin: pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. So each club has 7 different designs, one representing each of the 7 sins with its corresponding color, that were sent out at random to each of you. I wanted these to be perfect, so I spent nearly a week tweaking the designs until they felt right. The standard size club images were adapted from a digital artist that goes by Intuari. Apologize if I butchered that name, but may butcher the next one even worse, unfortunately. The XL images are pieces done by Hinko Smrekar, a Slovenian caricaturist and print artist created in 1927 for a woodcut series. I then adapted all 14 specifically for Hanks by adjusting the sizing, resolution, adding complementary colors, text, etc. Embarrassing to admit, but I even spent 2+ hours just choosing fonts. I'm nuts, you guys, but I hope all the hard work paid off and you guys enjoy these as much as we do. And surprise, since we love these so much, we'll be doing another Hank of the Month Club Hank bundle auction mid-month. We'll make a blog post on the website where Hank of the Month Club members only will be available to place bids on a full set of 7 Deadly Sin Hanks in standard and or XL sizes by commenting on the post. Only one set of each is available. There will be more instructions on this as we get closer, but we can't wait to see who grabs them. As always, we hope you love this month's design. Oh, and I strongly urge you guys to watch the 1995 thriller 7 with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt with Hank in hand for bonus points. Thank you so much for being a member of our clubs. Happy hanking and happy Halloween. Thanks, Max and Lauren Gondek. And so there was an additional card in mine explaining why I have all 14 designs. And so that's going to be great if you're subscribed to this and you're curious what the other designs look like. We're going to be looking at all 7 standard, all 7 XL. And they also just kind of thanking me for the support over the years. And honestly, the feeling's mutual. Gondek EDC, the Hank of the Month Club, was the 4th video I ever posted, and they've been supporting the channel ever since. Have a great relationship with Max and Lauren, have had the opportunity to meet them in person, have had Max on Just a Tip live stream. Maybe one day we'll have Lauren as well, but super appreciative of their support as well. Love you guys, appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's also really cool that I'm going to have one of what's probably only 3 full complete sets between the auction ones, the ones they keep, and this one that they sent out. So really appreciative of that as well. But let's get into it. We're gonna do all the standard first so we can compare those, and then we'll do the XL. Feel free to comment which is your favorite, which one you got if you're subscribed, and whether you like the standard designs or the XL designs better down in the comments. But we'll go in the same order of the letter, which should have Pride up first. And it is. So Pride is purple. Each one is color coordinated, and that color coordination does carry over to the XL designs as well. All of the standard are going to have this same border, obviously a very similar art style since these are all done by one artist. And that's one thing I really like about the standard and the XL contrast there, is that they're done by different artists. So the standard has a very almost modern take on the 7 Deadly Sins, where the XL has a more traditional take, and that makes sense since the XL was designed back in 1927, but I really appreciate the differences. They feel like two completely different things, even though they're on the same series. And so this one has an image of a woman on a phone, and next to that are phones with the heart emoji and the like emoji. So kind of showing social media's role in Pride in the modern age, with so kind of a modern interpretation again of those 7 Deadly Sins. Really like the font here, so great job, Lauren. The 2+ hours of selecting that font definitely paid off, and really cool art style overall, resonates with me. I love the purple on this one, and a great looking hank. Gonna have to run through these just for the sake of keeping this video under an hour or so, but I'll try and keep it down to about 20 minutes or less. And so let's jump into our next one, which should be Greed. And it is. So love the color on this one. It's that gold coloration. I would love to see them use this on some future hanks as well. I think it's just going to work really well with your copper, your brass, your bronze type gear. And so absolutely love the color on this one. Now at first glance, this one looks almost more traditional. It doesn't look like a super modern design. You can see clear imagery, same imagery as the other one. Definitely you can see that it's the same artist, but it has a more traditional feel until you look a little bit closer. So some of the coins in the stacks have some cryptocurrency logos. So we have at least Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. There may be some others that I'm missing. I didn't see any at a glance, but definitely possible there's some additional ones hidden in there as well. But really great looking hank design. This is probably my second or third favorite of all of the standard designs, and I'll try and point those out just to kind of input my opinion on these as we go through them, but definitely one of my favorites in this standard series. So up next we should have Lust, and we do. So this is definitely going to be one that's both popular, I think, and also maybe a little bit controversial. Not really controversial for me, but some people will find this a little bit controversial, but really hard to show lust without kind of imagery like this. So this definitely has a S&M type theme. We have a lady with a ball gag in her mouth and a choker on, and we have the chains and the shackles, even a grenade on here. And so this is a cool imagery to me. I love the color as well. It definitely fits with Lust, and I think all of the colors were really well represented with what we actually see on the design of the hank. So next up should be Envy, and this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite of the standard. I think the green is just so bright that it really attracted to that. I also like the imagery. The woman has kind of a rockabilly type look. Love the reptiles on there. Not sure exactly what they are. I don't think they're snakes, probably some type of lizard, but I love reptiles in general. So this imagery really just resonated a lot with me, and this is probably my favorite of the standard designs. Also worth pointing out, that border has stayed consistent throughout this series, so not only similar kind of thematic imagery, but that border is kind of a staple that ties them all together as well. You also see the font changing position where it makes most sense with the design, so that was really well done as well. Now next up we have Gluttony. And this one also has one of those cool colors that I would love to see repeated. I think this will work just as well with those more goldy colors of the brass and bronze, and really cool imagery as well. This one has a little bit more to it than kind of first meets the eye. Obviously Gluttony is represented with the woman and the burgers, but also with the slot machine. It's not just food you can be gluttonous with. It could be social media, gambling, really anything where you overindulge. There's also worked in this DNA strand on the side, which just kind of says maybe that some people are a little bit more prone to be gluttonous. Not to say it's not something anyone can overcome, but it's more difficult for some people than others. And so I just really like the kind of subtle things in these designs. They seem to be really, really well thought out, and another good looking design for our standard. Now two more we should have. I'm kind of burying them here, so I got to make sure I'm able to pull those out. next up is going to be Wrath, and this is probably my second or third favorite, somewhere right there with Greed. Really love the color on this one. It's got more of a blood red look to it, and also the imagery, although this one has a more traditional feel than the rest with that revolver on here rather than a more modern gun. We also have that breaking glass on her neck, the explosion in the background, and even the emotions on her face just kind of portray Wrath very, very well. I also really like the placement of the banner and the text on this one. It's a little bit different from all of the rest, and they're all slightly different placed, but I just like the way this one interacts with the imagery on the Hank. So that's definitely either my second or third favorite. Kind of ironic they all ended up in line with each other, my top three. But last but not least, we have Sloth. And Sloth is one, I'm not exactly clear on what it represents. Initially, I always thought it meant kind of like laziness. I just think of sloth as slow and lazy, so I always thought it meant like laziness, but from the imagery here, that doesn't really seem to be what the image is portraying. So maybe it means something more like carefree. Let me know down in the comments if you have a clearer explanation of what sloth represents in the 7 deadly sins, but still really beautiful imagery. This one has kind of a carefree looking lady blowing a bubble. She's got flowers and a butterfly in her hair. Not sure again what that front imagery is. We have either a crow or a raven there. I think maybe more of a crow standing on top of a maze and just a little bit of a larger frame. I love the gray and how that kind of interacts with the black, just a very grayscale image on this one. And so another really good looking Hank. This one's probably somewhere in between 4 or 5, but really like all of the designs in this series. Let me know in the comments which is your favorite. While you're doing that though, I'm gonna move these out of the way so we can take a look at the XL designs. And so we'll set these off to the side while we're looking at those. And for the XL, again, different artist, I don't remember his name is offhand, but feel free to rewind back to that letter if you want to see it. We're going to go in the exact same order, which is again the same order as the letter. So up first will be Pride. And so you can see very different imagery style. This one really resonates with me. We have a king kind of sitting on his throne, and obviously kings are known for being very prideful, also a little bit boisterous. And so this one might be able to represent some other things as well, gluttony, greed, I don't know. But you can see he has his gold crown, rings on every single finger, that red bow tie just kind of screams luxury and pride. He has a pin on his chest, and just a really cool imagery. One thing you'll notice on this one, it has a bar with the text on the side. Another great job with the text. I think this kind of faded look looks really well with this art style, but you'll see the color coordination come into play as well. So if you remember back to the standard Pride, that was also purple. So we're going to see the same color theme. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get all of these onto the screen at the same time, so we'll just kind of have to go one by one. But up next, we will have Greed once again, and this is another cool one. This guy looks like he's sitting in like a dark room just hoarding all his gold and cash and jewelry. There's another chest of gold and jewelry over here, and has almost a My Precious type feel to it, but really cool imagery. You can see again we have the gold color in the background on the bar here with the text, and love this design. One of my favorites for sure. It's funny actually that even though they're so different styles of art, I have kind of similar favorites in the XL series as I did on the standard series, so we'll see that as well as we continue to move along. So up next we have Lust, and this one has a kind of humanoid-esque figure. It's kind of more beast than human. You can see those toes. It's got fur all over his body. Gold earring though, definitely humanoid, and you can see him lusting at a woman through the window, or maybe that's a mirror picture frame. I'm not 100% sure, but really clearly conveys lust, and a lot more kind of literal interpretation of a lot of these 7 deadly sins. And so really cool one there. Next up we're gonna have Greed, and once again, I'm sorry, not Greed, Envy. And so once again, I really like the Envy, same as in the standard series. Now this one is not as clear to me how this translates to Envy. There's only one figure in the imagery. It's a really cool figure though. I like that crouch stance he has, the long kind of bony fingers and the long red mustache, red eyes. It's just a really cool and striking image, but I'm not 100% sure how that interprets to Envy. What's he envious of? And maybe that's up to your own interpretation or the viewer's own interpretation. And so like the imagery a lot, even though it's not as literal as some of the other translations. Now next up we're gonna have Gluttony, and this one is a very literal interpretation. You can see he's shoving like a big like turkey leg or loaf into his mouth, but he already has something in the spoon in his other hand ready to go. More food spread out on the table. Another kind of humanoid-esque creature. It's not exactly human, but really, really cool. I like this one as well. Now, 2 more. We have Wrath, and this one is this kind of giant red creature stomping, breaking barrels and wood and things like that. And I like the red fur or hair on this creature. I think it looks really nice with that red bar, and just an overall great looking one. This is another of my favorites. Like I said, I have kind of the same favorites between the standard and XL, which is funny. Last but not least, we have Sloth, and this Sloth, it's a little bit different. So you can see this guy's laying almost on his deathbed, and so again, not 100% clear if this is, you know, laziness or carefreeness. You can see he has a book and he fell asleep reading maybe, so it definitely has that more carefree vibe to it. This image, for whatever reason, I find very cool and really resonate with this one as well. So this one actually might have crawled into my top 3 on the XL. Kind of have to take a second and step back to compare them to really figure out what my top 3 are, but this is definitely in the conversation. Let me know which is your favorite down in the comments below, and also which series you prefer between the standard and XL. Just going to kind of flip back through these since I can't show them all at once so we can see each of the images again. But I will say I really am a big fan of this. It's a really cool way to have a little bit more interaction with the Hank of the Month Club, have different options, and really be able to see a lot of different designs. I think it's a fun one for sure. Obviously, I won't have access to all of them if they continue to do that, but I'm really appreciative of them for sending them all over. And I'm a big fan of both these art styles. They're very, very different, and kind of initial reaction is that I really resonate with the XL designs a little bit more and his art style, but I loved a lot of those standard designs. So it's really hard to say. I think if you ask me on a different day, there may be days where I prefer the standard versions over the XL, but both are very, very cool. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them down in the comments below. Make sure if you're a member and you want to get in on these to jump in and get in on those auctions, because it sounds like there's only 3 full sets of these, maybe 4 if both Max and Lauren kept their own, but not a lot of them. And if you don't get them in the auction, it's going to be pretty hard to track these down. They do have a Facebook group where maybe you can ask around and buy them individually, but not only is that going to be more time consuming, probably going to be more expensive than just purchasing them in the auction, depending on how high that goes. But really, really cool. Again, thank you Max and Lauren for sending these over. I greatly appreciate it. Let me know again what you think in the comments. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, subscribing, joining the channel as a member. All help the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.